What's up guys, it's Cam coming at you from the 2-6. Welcome back to Carolina Fragrance Reviews. Well, today I am going over a list that a lot of you might be interested in. This is going to be my top 10 designer fragrances that drive women crazy. Without no further ado, let's get into this. Before I get into this lineup, please keep in mind that all women don't have the exact same taste, but all of these fragrances have been battle tested through my personal experiences, and you'll notice that there are several in here that others have had good luck with as well. Okay, the first fragrance is actually a highly underrated fragrance that really works. It has grapefruit, apple, amber, incense, and patchouli. It is from the Polo Blue line. This is Polo Blue Gold Blend. This fragrance actually just completely knocked me off my axis. My friend Jacob Bryant told me about this and just told me how crazy his girlfriend went over this, and then him performing wearing this, actually having women in the audience like talking about how good he smelled. He can hear them saying that like in between playing songs. So this is definitely a gem, coming in at number 10. Coming in at number 9 should be no surprise to any of you. It has been in numerous lists for a very long time, but it simply works. Now, it doesn't have nuclear performance, but please keep in mind that these are primarily geared for like date night fragrances, or even if they're afternoon dates, whatever they might be. A lot of these aren't going to have, extremely heavy projection and performance. These are going to be fragrances that are going to be for those intimate experiences. With that said, Man Purvey, which I actually have a decant of, it is a masculine woody leather fragrance that is very sexy and masculine. Some of the notes in this are cardamom, whiskey, tonka bean, and leather. And one way to check to see which fragrances actually work for you or what your woman likes to smell on you the most is go to today's sponsor. Go to www.myfragrancesamples.com, enter CFR 15 to get 15% off. That way you can get little samples like these instead of having to buy 10 or 15 random fragrances that you don't know how are going to perform off your skin, or just going off of my advice and it not actually work for you. Next fragrance has sage, cedar, and rose as some of the primary notes. It is Issy Miyake Loam Yuletime. Now that fragrance just really works. Women absolutely love it, but I did want to mix it up just a little bit. Now I know the note of rose can be off-putting for some people, but please don't misunderstand this fragrance for being like a rose heavy fragrance. It's just a light nuance in this fragrance, but just in case, I did break out a couple of backups. Both of the backup fragrances I have come from Issy Miyake as well, but they're not necessarily known for their stellar performance. But again, we're talking about intimate situations. These are fragrances that smell really good in a window of 3 to 5 hours. The first one is Loam. Loam is built around ginger and doesn't have the performance that it used to, like when it first came out in 2006. Around 2006 to 2008, this one had really good performance to me anyway. For like a fresh, ginger based fragrance, I would get 5 to 6 hours of projection and performance, where this one nowadays, like the more recent formulations, you might get around 3, maybe 4, but still a stellar fragrance that gets a lot of attention. Other than ginger, you're going to get some violet and some tonka bean in this. It is an absolute beaut that still gets the job done. And the other one being Eau Electrique. This is L'Envie de Loam from Issy Miyake. This one has cardamom, geranium, and amber in this one. Believe it or not, this fragrance really works well for about 3 hours. And when I say it works well, it works really well. I think one of the downsides to this fragrance, where a lot of people have dismissed it or haven't paid any attention, is because of those longevity issues. But if you got 3 to 5 hours, I mean, it's not going to fall off after 3 hours completely, not on my skin anyway. And of course, if you have dry skin that just works like a sponge, okay, we'll go with 3 hours. If you have more oily skin like mine, about 5 hours. But if you can reel her in those first 3 hours, you should be golden either way. Next fragrance has better performance, better projection, Very, very sexy, very alluring, and perfect for this time of year from Emporio Armani, Stronger With You Intensely. This is a warm, sweet, sexy, seductive, mass appealing, woman reeling in type fragrance. Just in case if you guys missed out on a video that I did with my friend Samantha where she smelled and rated a bunch of my fragrances, where we got it down to 10 that she liked a lot, and then she picked number 1. It was Strong With You Intensely. I'll put the link to that video right here. Some of the notes in this one are cinnamon, caramel, amber, suede, and vanilla. Next fragrance comes from Issy Miyake, and it might be one that you might not have actually thought about. That is a gem, especially for what it can be bought for. It is very much an attention-grabbing fragrance. It is New the Issy. This fragrance was introduced to me a while back from Ashton at Gentsense, and I don't know that he was mentioning how like attention-grabbing it was as far as the opposite sex, but he was talking about the quality. And a lot of these Issy Miyake fragrances do have very high quality, especially for what they cost. These can be picked up for around $30 to $35, and especially for 100 ml, it's a sick deal. Now this one's gonna open up a little bit spicy. It has some black pepper, it has some grapefruit. It also has some leather, some tonka bean, and woods. As some of you know, tonka bean and leather work very well together to pull that attention in, and then you've got that spice in there with those fresh nuances, especially like within the first 30 to 45 minutes of this is just absolutely amazing. But the dry down is even better, and you will not believe the attention that this fragrance will pull. Next fragrance is sweet, masculine, and somewhat bold, I would say. It is Million Prevail. Even though this one is a little bit more sweeter, it's very sweet and sexy, but it also has tobacco in here with some cinnamon and vanilla, which really is alluring. It almost teeters in gourmand territory just a little bit, but not to the point to where you're talking about like, you know, super, super sweet. But the cinnamon and the spices in this are very, very alluring. This is a great clubbing scent. Definitely perfect for a night out. You know, maybe you don't have a date lined up for the evening. This is a very good fragrance to help you get one either that night, later on that night, or the next night, whatever the case may be. Next fragrance is no stranger to the date night fragrances or attention-grabbing, attention-getting fragrances that lure women in. It is Yves Saint Laurent Lanwi de Loam. This fragrance still works. Look at that big dent in that fragrance right there, and there's a reason for that. It's spicy, sweet, sexy. This one does have a little bit better performance than those other ones that I shared earlier. That's why this one is a little bit further along down in the list, just for the reasons of, well, there's a couple reasons. Women do tend to like this one better a lot of times, but I have had a lot of luck with the others, but this one has better performance. Some of the notes in this are bergamot, lavender, and that sexy cardamom note that seems to be a common theme in fragrances that get the ladies' attention. Next fragrance has lavender, spice, vanilla, tobacco, and is a definite staple this time of year. It is from Viktor and Rolf. This one is Spice Bomb Extreme. This fragrance is actually a little bit more balanced than the original Spice Bomb. The spice isn't quite as projectile, where some cases I've actually seen where the regular Spice Bomb has been a little obnoxious for some of the ladies out there, and I actually have seen other women outside of the ones that I've talked to or been out with that have actually said that they prefer this one. It is a little bit darker than the original Spice Bomb, but it's definitely sweet, sexy, and definitely attention grabbing. My brother actually had this fragrance on the other day, and he had it mixed with Baccalian apple brandy. So I know this isn't a layering video, but those two smell absolutely amazing together. Apple brandy isn't exactly known as like the lady getter fragrance, even though I absolutely love to wear it. Add you some Spice Bomb to it, and there's your DNA. Coming in at number 2 is from a line that I probably could have picked one of at least 3 from this line, but I picked one, and it's the one that has absolutely worked for me the most, the best, you name it. It is Yves Saint Laurent Y Live. Yes, we have seen YSL in here a lot of times, but they do make very sexy, mass appealing, attention grabbing, lady luring type fragrances. I actually ordered this fragrance a good bit before you could get it here in the US, and I took it to the salon where I get my hair cut. There is a lot of ladies in there of all different ages, younger, you know, from 20 to 23 to middle age primarily, maybe, you know, like up to late 40s, early 50s, but they all went absolutely bananas, especially the younger ones, you know, like the 20 something right on into like maybe early 30s, they lost their minds. So for you younger fellas out there, if you're wanting that fragrance, it is absolutely going to get that attention. Wildlife is an amazing pick. It's definitely versatile and mass appealing, but there is a definite sexiness about this. Some of the notes in this one are grapefruit, pear, juniper, and cedar. Off of my skin, this one has amazing projection and very long lasting. It's the longest lasting out of all the wild line on my skin. So with that said, this also does have ambroxan in it, so don't overspray this one. It can be a little bit too much if you overspray it, unless you're going to like a clubbing situation where you just want to project and stand out. You know, no more than 5 sprays though. If you do, you're just gonna be that cologne guy that people are like, okay, he smells good from across the room. Coming in at number 1 has mandarin, tonka bean, and musk. Can you guess it? Yes, it is my most complimented designer fragrance of all time, especially for date night and getting the ladies' attention. It is from Chanel. It is Allure Sport Homme Eau Extreme, or Ashy. This fragrance is absolutely amazing. It just works, it works, it works. The only downside to this fragrance, if there is a downside to it, is it's probably the only fragrance that you won't find on the gray market or at discounters, but you can just sample it to make sure it works for you. There are several that are from Chanel that all work, like Bleu de Chanel, all 3 different versions of at least 3 of the versions of the Allure line are very attention grabbing. Some not as much as the others, but this beats them all hands down. If you want to see how this fragrance did in a smell and rate with a lot of random people that had never smelled this fragrance, or Jeremy Fragrance's office, I'll leave the link for that video right there. So that's going to wrap it up for my 10 plus designer fragrances that drive women crazy. Be on the lookout for a new series that I have coming out that's called Smash or Pass. I'll let your mind go wherever it wants to see what you think that series is about. But let me know down in the comments, what is your go-to designer fragrance that drives the ladies crazy? Until next time, I'll see you on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.